Victorian days called this the Whitechapel murders, and later will be known as the serial killer Jack the Ripper. Between April 1888 and February 1891, women were murdered the East End of London, and their names were included in a police file that was officially titled the Whitechapel Murders. 5 of those women are believed to have been killed by one man who has passed into history under the name of Jack the Ripper, so called from the signature of a letter that was sent to the newspaper, and it was the newspaper Street in the City of London during the last week of September 1888. These five women are often referred to as the 5 victims of Jack the Ripper, and they were murdered over a 9-week period between Friday the 31st of August and Friday the 9th of November 1888. They are buried in 4 East London cemeteries. The attacks detailed when Jack the Ripper, what he done to the females. They lived in the slums of East End of London. Their throats were cut and their bodies was mutilated. The removal of internal organs from the least 3 of the victims led to a speculation that the killer had some knowledge of how to remove the organs. In September and October 1888, and letters were received by media outlets and Scotland Yard from individuals preparing to be the murdered. Jack the Ripper's first victim was Mary Ann Nichols, the first known victim of London serial killer Jack the Ripper, is found murdered and mutilated in London, where in Whitechapel district. And then they saw 4 more victims of the murder during the next few months, but no suspect was ever found. In Victoria, England, London's East End was a teeming slum occupied by nearly 1 million of the city's poorest citizens. In Victoria, England, London's East End of a teeming slum occupied by nearly 1 million of the city's poorest citizens. Many women were forced to resort to working women, let's put it that way. And in 1888, there were estimated to be more than 1,000 working women in Whitechapel. That summer, a serial killer began, targeting those downtrodden women. On September the 8th, the killer claimed his second victim, Anne Chapman, and on September the 30th, two more working women, Liz Stride and Kate Edwards, were murdered and covered up on the same night.
Dear boss, I keep on hearing the police have caught me, but they won't fix me just yet. I have laughed when they look so clever and talk about being on the right track. That joke about leather apron gave me real fits. I am down on those and I shan't quit ripping them till I do. Get buckled, ground work. The last job was, I gave the lady no time to squeal. How can they catch me now? I love my work and want to start again. You will soon hear of me with my funny little games. I saved some of the proper red stuff in a ginger beer bottle over the last job to write with, but it weren't thick like glue, and I can't use it. Red ink is fit enough, I hope. Ha ha. The next job I do, I shall clip the ladies' ears off and send them to the police officers. Just for the jollies. Wouldn't you? Keep this letter back till I do a bit more work, then give it out straight. My knive's so nice and sharp, I want to get to work right away, if I can a chance. Good luck. Don't mind me giving the trade name. P.S. Wasn't good enough to post this before I got all the red ink off my hands. 'Cause it no luck yet. They say I am a doctor now. Ha ha. Yours truly, Jack the Ripper.
The mutilated body of Anne Chapman was found days later on September 8th, 1888. Anne was a 47-year-old worker who, like the other victims of Jack the Ripper, was staying at a temporary lodging house. The crime scene was located about half a mile from that of Nichols at 28 Harvey Street. It was evident from arrival that Chapman suffered similar attacks as Nichols. But the murder of Anne Chapman was much more disturbing. Anne was found with her throat cut so severely that she was almost decapitated. She also appeared to have been strangled, and she was robbed of the jewelry on her body. The mutilated body of Anne Chapman was found days later on September 8th, 1888. Anne was a 47-year-old worker who, like the other victims of Jack the Ripper, was staying at a temporary lodging house. The crime scene was located about half a mile from that of Nichols at 28 Nichols at 28 Harvey Street. It was evident from arrival that Chapman suffered similar attacks as Nichols, but the murder of Anne Chapman was much more disturbing. Anne was found with her throat cut so severely that she was almost decapitated. She also appeared to have been strangled, and she was robbed of the jewelry on her body. Jack the Ripper's victims. First one, Mary Ann Nichols, found August 31st, 1888. Second, Anne Chapman, found September the 8th, 1888. Catherine Edwards, found September 30th, 1888. Elizabeth Stride, found September 30th, 1888. Mary Jane Kelly, November 9th, 1888. Now, all this occurred in the Victorian age when Queen Victoria was ruling. There were rumors going around and people talking that it was one of Queen Victoria's nephews or sons. When it came to the palace, that it was suggested that it might be one of her nephews or son, he quickly disappeared from the crowd and from prowling eyes. Until today, people do still think that it was one of the royals in those days. We shall not know who really done Jack the Ripper, Jack the Ripper's work, and we will never know who it is, except maybe the royals in this modern age. You never know, maybe Queen Victoria wrote it in one of her diaries. And was this so-called Jack the Ripper female or male? We do not know. If you don't know, but most people in England know, Jack the Ripper was never caught. We don't know his name or her name, and we have no forensics at all, because the time when these murders happened, there was no No DNA and no fingerprints recognizing things. Let's put it that way. Jack the Ripper was a gruesome serial killer who treated working women in England of 1888. His preferred method is killing was to use a knife to cut the throat and mutilate the bodies of his victims. The Ripper is responsible for at least 5 murders known as the, let's put it, Women of 5. The names of those victims are Mary Ann Nichols, Anne Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Edwards, and Mary Jane Kelly. Jack the Ripper is one of the world's most famous serial killers because the identity of the Ripper is still unsolved. Today, modern criminal profiling and investigators have resulted in a few suspects identified of the killer, including Polish immigrants, Polish immigrants.